My fiancée stood me up to go to her male co-worker's birthday party. She even posted a photo of them together on Instagram with a caption, "Happy birthday to the best guy friend a girl could ask for." In the picture, his arm was wrapped around her waist, their faces so close they were practically touching. And me? I was left alone, staring at a table full of cold, expensive food. My phone buzzed with calls and texts from relatives, all asking where we were. I ignored them. I'm sure they were having a great time. Fine. If that's how she wants it, then this wedding is off. I took the wedding portrait we'd spent a fortune on and fed it directly into the office shredder. She's just a woman. A three-legged frog is hard to find, but two-legged women are a dime a dozen. 1. The air conditioning in the private dining room was blasting, the cold air hitting my face with a sting. The table was covered in a decadent spread. Lobster, oysters, Wagyu steak, king crab legs. Now, it all looked like a cruel joke, the fat congealing under the harsh lights into a sickening white glaze. This was supposed to be the menu tasting for my engagement party with Sophia, the night our parents were finally meeting. I glanced at the Rolex on my wrist. 9:30 p.m. We were supposed to be here 3.5 hours ago. Sophia's parents had stormed out 2 hours earlier, their faces dark with anger. Before they left, her father muttered something about how I couldn't even control my own woman, and how we'd made them look like fools. I didn't argue. I just had my guy, Mitch, drive them home, making sure he put the 2 cases of Macallan 18 from the trunk into their hands. As long as we weren't officially over, I still had to keep up appearances. "Jack, you want to get out of here?" Mitch poked his head in, looking at me cautiously. The restaurant manager hovered behind him, holding the bill, his expression a perfect blend of pity and embarrassment. I stubbed out my cigarette in the remains of a lobster tail. It hissed, letting out a wisp of smoke. "Yeah, let's go." I stood up, smoothing the wrinkles in my suit jacket. Sophia had picked it out. It was a slim-fit Italian cut I hated, and I'd felt suffocated in it all night. "What's the damage?" I asked. "Jack, the bill is $8,800, but the manager said he'd give you a discount." Mitch started. "No discount needed." I pulled out my Amex Black card and tossed it to the manager. "Run it, and I want a receipt. Also, have your staff throw all this food out. Don't even give it to the dogs." The manager looked like he'd been granted a pardon from the governor, snatching the card and practically sprinting away. Just then, my phone screen lit up, a notification I had specially set for her. I swiped it open. It was Sophia's Instagram, a 9-photo grid. The center picture was taken in a dimly lit karaoke lounge. Sophia was wearing the limited edition Chanel mini dress I bought her, showing off her long legs, a champagne flute in her hand, her cheeks flushed. And that kid, Leo, had one hand wrapped brazenly around her waist, his face buried in her neck, smiling like he'd won the lottery. The caption read, "Happy birthday to the best guy friend a girl could ask for. Some bonds are more permanent than love." Leo had commented below, "Thanks, Soph. Best night ever." Sophia had replied with a blushing emoji. "Anything for you." I stared at the screen. I didn't feel the explosion of rage I expected. Instead, a strange sense of calm washed over me. It was like being constipated for 3 days and finally finding relief. "Jack, what the—" Mitch leaned over and saw the screen. He instantly blew a gasket. "Holy SHD, that woman has no respect for you. Today was your engagement party, and she's off messing around with some pretty boy." "Chill." I put a finger to my lips. "Quiet. You'll scare her best guy friend." I zoomed in on the photo, looking closer. The watch on Leo's wrist was a Rolex Submariner, the green one they call the Hulk. If I remember correctly, last month Sophia told me her little brother was having a birthday and asked me for 10 grand. So that's where the money went. It was on this kid's wrist. Nice. Really nice. I turned and walked to the display easel in the corner of the room. On it was a giant, framed portrait from our engagement photo shoot in Hawaii. In the photo, I was grinning like an idiot. Sophia had a cool, detached expression, like I was just some guy who'd wandered into her shot. "Mitch." "Yeah, boss. Go get that big office shredder from the front desk." Mitch paused for a second, but he didn't ask questions. He went straight to the reception area and wheeled in their industrial-sized shredder. I ripped the expensive photo off the easel, tore it from its frame, and rolled it into a tube. Zzz. The grinding of the machine was deafening in the empty room. Sophia's face, my face, chewed up by the gears and spit out into a pile of colorful confetti. It looked like the aftermath of a 4th of July parade. Jack, you're not going to marry her, Mitch stammered, swallowing hard. I brushed the paper dust off my hands, lit a fresh cigarette, and took a long drag, letting the nicotine swirl in my lungs. Marry my ass. I blew out a smoke ring, watching the pile of shredded paper. She's just a woman. A 3-legged frog is hard to find, but 2-legged women are everywhere. Let's go. We're heading to midnight. Tell everyone the whole night's on my tab. 2. Midnight was the biggest club in Miami, and it was Cassandra's territory. When I got there, the place was electric. The bass vibrated through the floorboards, and the dance floor was a sea of writhing bodies. I skipped the private rooms and took the best table on the main floor. Mitch has a big mouth, so the news that my wedding was off had already spread through my circle of friends. Within minutes, our table was crowded with bottles. Well, Jack Wyatt, look what the cat dragged in. Cassandra poured into a tight red slip dress, sauntered over, swirling a glass of whiskey. She was the definition of knockout. She slid onto the banquette next to me, her thigh brushing against my suit pants just so. I heard you got stood up, she said. Cassandra had the best intel in the city and a tongue to match. I raised my glass and clinked it against hers. Here to gloat, Cassie. I wouldn't dare. She leaned in close, her warm breath on my neck carrying the scent of expensive perfume. I'm here to congratulate you, Jack. Welcome back from hell. Her eyes were practically pulling me in. I told you that girl, Sophia, was all image. Puts on this high-class act, but deep down she's cheap. You just wouldn't listen. I didn't say anything, just drained my glass. When I was with Sophia, I rarely came to places like this to make her happy. And I definitely didn't get close to women like Cassie. Sophia always said Cassie was trashy and had no class. Looking back now, it was hard to say who really had no class. Tonight's on me, Cassie said, her hand resting on my shoulder, to celebrate Jack Wyatt being back on the market. Don't be ridiculous. Am I short on cash? I wrapped an arm around her waist. It was slender but strong, so much better than the bony frame Sophia starved herself to maintain. Cassie's body tensed for a moment, then relaxed, melting against me. Mama, has Jack Wyatt turned over a new leaf? Not afraid the little woman at home will make you sleep on the couch. I let out a cold laugh. She's probably too busy being some other guy's soulmate to care what I'm doing. I pulled out my phone, unpinned Sophia's chat, and changed her contact name to A-trash-to be deleted. Just then, the phone started vibrating. It was Sophia. I glanced at the time. 9 a.m. Looks like the birthday party was over. I declined the call. A few seconds later, it rang again. Declined again. The third time she called, I answered and put on speaker. The background was loud. She clearly wasn't home yet. Jack, where the hell are you? Sophia's voice was shrill, filled with a self-righteous anger. I've been calling you. Why weren't you picking up? Do you have any idea how furious my parents are? Before I could answer, Cassie let out a laugh beside me. Well now, if it isn't the lovely Miss Sophia, you've got quite the set of lungs. Sophia fell silent for a second, then exploded. Jack, is there a woman with you? Where are you? I leaned back against the plush sofa, lazily twirling a strand of Cassie's long hair around my finger. I'm out having a drink. A drink? Do you have any idea what today was? And you're out drinking? With some trashy club girl? Trashy. I glanced at Cassie. She rolled her eyes at me and snatched the phone. Sophia, right? This is Cassandra. Jack's a little busy drinking with me right now, so he doesn't have time for your tantrum. By the way, is your best guy friend not cutting it? Did he send you home this early to find a backup plan? Cassandra, you're that slut. Put Jack on the phone. I need to talk to him. I took the phone back, my voice cold. Sophia, whatever it is, we could talk about it tomorrow. Don't ruin my night. Jack, what is that supposed to mean? Are you trying to start something? I'm telling you, if you don't get your ass back here and apologize to me right now, you can forget about this wedding. Oh, I replied flatly. Good, because I already have. With that, I hung up and turned my phone off. Blissful silence. Cassie looked at me, a strange light in her eyes. Jack, are you serious this time? As serious as a heart attack. I poured 2 more drinks. To new beginnings, Cassie. That night, I drank a lot, but my mind was clearer than it had been in years. I watched the wild crowd on the dance floor and started making a mental list of everything I had to do tomorrow. The wedding was off, but it was time to settle the bill. The money I'd earned wasn't a charity fund, and it damn sure wasn't for supporting my fiancé's boy toy. 3. I didn't get back to the condo I shared with Sophia until noon the next day. It was a sprawling 2,500 square foot place in the heart of Brickell, a penthouse I'd paid nearly $2 million for. I'd made the down payment and covered every mortgage payment, but the deed was in Sophia's name only. At the time, I thought that's what a man does. You provide security for the woman you love. Looking back, I must have had rocks in my head. The moment I walked in, I saw the living room was a disaster zone. Broken glasses and shattered vases littered the floor. Sophia was on the sofa, her eyes red and swollen. Her social climbing parents were sitting at the dining table, their faces grim. Her worthless brother, Kyle, was lounging on an armchair, playing Call of Duty on his phone. "Well, look who decided to come home," Sophia's mother began, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Out all night, not answer your phone. You've gotten pretty bold, haven't you, Jack? Not even married yet, and you're already staying out all night?" Sophia shot up from the sofa, stormed over to me, and raised her hand to slap me. "Jack, what the hell were you doing with that bitch Cassandra last night?" I grabbed her wrist midair. I applied the slightest pressure, and she cried out in pain. "Let go. You're hurting me." I shoved her hand away and stared at her coldly. "Don't push it, Sophia. What was I doing?" "I was doing the same thing you were." "What are you talking about?" she demanded, cradling her wrist, her face a mask of disbelief. "You were celebrating Leo's birthday. I was having drinks with Cassie. Seems fair to me." "That's not the same thing," she shrieked. "Leo is my co-worker. He's like a brother to me. We have a purely platonic friendship. Cassandra runs a nightclub. She's a glorified stripper. You're comparing her to him. Platonic." I laughed, pulled out my phone, and shoved the Instagram screenshot in her face. "Arm around your waist, face in your neck, wearing a $10,000 Rolex I paid for. You call that platonic, Sophia? Do you think I'm blind? Or just stupid?" Her face paled, but she quickly regained her arrogant composure. "It's just a watch. It was his birthday present." "Jack, when did you become so petty? Are you really going to get worked up over a little bit of money?" "Yeah, seriously." Kyle chimed in from the couch. "Chill out, bro. Leo looks out for my sister at work. What's the big deal about a watch? It was my birthday last month. How come you didn't give me a Rolex?" I turned to look at Kyle. The kid was 22, a year out of college, and had never held a job. He just leached off his sister, which meant he leached off me. "Kyle, that BMW 3 Series you're driving. I bought that, right?" "Yeah, so what?" he said as if it was his birthright. "Give me the keys," I said, holding out my hand. "Why?" He clutched his pocket protectively. "It's my car. I feel like driving it. Is that a problem?" "You gave it to me, so it's mine. Why should I give it to you?" he yelled. "Gave it to you?" I scoffed. "Did you transfer the title? Whose name is on the registration? Hand them over." I barked the last words, and he flinched. I was usually patient with him. He'd never seen this side of me. "Mom, look at him." Kyle pleaded for backup. His mother slammed her hands on the table and stood up. "Jack, what is the meaning of this? You don't take back a gift. Have you no shame?" "Shame." I walked over to her, towering over her. "Ma'am, let's be honest here. For the past few years, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the vacations you take, where do you think that money came from? This outfit Sophia's wearing? $5,000. Kyle's car? $50,000. The renovation on your house back home? $40,000. What? You thought I was just a walking ATM? That you could bleed me dry forever?" Sophia's mother turned white, her lips trembling, unable to form a word. Her father finally knocked the ash from his pipe. "Jack," he said gravely, "couples have their ups and downs. What happened yesterday? Sophia was wrong to miss the dinner, but you can't talk to us like this. We're going to be family." "Stop." I held up a hand, cutting him off. "Sir, you're mistaken. That dinner didn't happen, which means this wedding isn't happening. From now on, we're not family. We're strangers." The words hung in the air. The room fell into a dead silence, broken only by the defeat announcement from Kyle's game. Sophia's eyes were wide with shock, as if I'd just started speaking in tongues. "Jack, what did you say? The wedding's off? You wouldn't dare." "Why wouldn't I?" I pulled out a cigarette and lit it, not caring that we were in the living room. I gave you a chance, Sophia. I waited in that private room for 3.5 hours. If you'd sent me one single text, just one, saying you were running late, I wouldn't have done this. But you didn't. You were out drinking with another man, posting on Instagram for the whole world to see. Did you ever, for 1 second, think about me, sitting there waiting for you like a complete fool? I forgot. Her voice softened, her eyes darting away. You forgot? I flicked my ash onto the pristine marble floor. Whatever. Save the excuses. This condo, even though it's in your name, I have records of every single wire transfer. I'm suing you. Either you pay me back for the property, or it's mine. And Kyle's car stays here today. If it doesn't, I'm reporting it stolen. Jack, are you insane? Sophia shrieked, clawing at my suit. We're getting married. How could you be so calculating? Get off me. I shoved her away, and she stumbled back onto the sofa. Calculating? Compared to this family of vampires, I'd call it self-defense. I turned and walked out. At the door, I paused and looked back at Kyle. The car keys. Leave them on the console table by the door. You have 10 minutes, or you'll find out what happens next. As soon as I was out, I called Mitch. Get a few of the guys and a tow truck. Go get Kyle's BMW. If he doesn't give you the keys, smash the window and drag it out of there. You got it, boss. I've been waiting to wipe the smirk off that kid's face. Mitch said, clearly enjoying himself. I hung up and looked up at the sun. It was blinding, but inside, I felt an incredible, exhilarating sense of freedom. 4. The next few days were a blur of activity. I hired the best law firm in the city and had them comb through every financial transaction between me and Sophia over the last few years. I had no idea how bad it was until I saw the numbers. In 5 years, I had spent over $700,000 on her and her family. Besides the big-ticket items like the condo and the car, there were endless cash transfers, charges on my credit cards, and payments for her debts. Every receipt was another piece of evidence of their bottomless greed. At the same time, I did a clean sweep at my company. Sophia had a do-nothing job there, and she'd managed to get a few of her deadbeat relatives hired as well. I had Mitch and HR fire every single one of them in one afternoon. Severance? They got exactly what the law required, not a penny more. Anyone who wanted to cause a scene could take it up with Mitch's crew. Right in the middle of all this, Leo had the nerve to show up at my office. I had just gotten back from construction site, still wearing a hard hat and my boots covered in dust. Leo was standing out front in a tailored suit, his hair slicked back. He looked completely out of place. Mr. Wyatt, can we talk? He asked, flashing a smile that made my skin crawl. I tossed my hard hat to Mitch and brushed the dust off my jeans. About what? Is that Rolex not keeping time correctly? Leo's smile faltered for a second, but he recovered quickly. You're a funny guy, Mr. Wyatt. I'm here about Sophia. He stood there, acting like he was on some noble quest. I know you and Sophia are fighting because of the birthday party. That was all my fault. I insisted she stay with me. If you're going to blame someone, blame me. Don't take it out on her. He continued, his voice dripping with condescension. Besides, for a man in your position, don't you think you should be a little more magnanimous? Taking back the car or the condo. It seems a bit classless, don't you think? I had to laugh. This little leech was here to lecture me on class? Magnanimous? I walked right up to him. I was a good half-foot taller, and I used every inch of it to intimidate him. When you were sleeping with my fiancée, did you tell yourself to be magnanimous and leave her for me? Leo's face changed, and he took a step back. Mr. Wyatt, you can't just say things like that. Sophia and I are just friends. Friend, my ass. I was done playing games. Leo, what's your salary? 60, maybe 70 grand a year. That watch on your wrist. That's more than a year's savings for you, isn't it? And that suit you're wearing, Armani, right? 3 grand at least. Sophia put that on my car too, didn't she? Leo's face turned a deep shade of crimson, but he tried to stand his ground. That was a gift from Sophia. You can't put a price on our connection. Fina, if your connection is so priceless, I have a deal for you. I pulled a business card from my wallet and tucked it into his jacket pocket. That's my lawyer's number. Sophia currently owes me over $700,000. Since you two are so close, why don't you help her pay it back? It's not much. Only $700K. If you work hard, don't eat, don't sleep, you might be able to pay it off in, say, 40 or 50 years. Leo was starting to panic. 700,000. How is that even possible? I have the receipts for every penny. The law will explain it to you. I patted his cheek, not hard, but the insult was unmistakable. Listen, kid, if you don't have the money, don't try to steal another man's girl. You can't live the high life on someone else's dime and act like you earned it. You'll bite off more than you can chew. Without another glance, I turned and walked into my building. Behind me, Leo stood frozen, looking like he'd seen a ghost. Mitch ran up to me, a wicked grin on his face. Hey, boss. One of the guys saw him get out of an Uber. Looks like Sophia can't even give her boy toy a ride anymore. Of course not. His ride is sitting in my garage, I said, lighting a cigarette. By the way, spread the word. Company party at midnight tonight. We're celebrating me being single again. Everyone gets a $1,000 bonus. Hell yeah, Jack, Mitch yelled, and the entire office erupted in cheers. 5. Tonight, midnight was on fire. I had booked out the entire main VIP section. My whole team was there, dozens of them, and top-shelf liquor flowed like water. Cassie was wearing a backless black gown tonight, looking like a proud, elegant swan. She sat next to me, a playful smile on her lips. Putting on a show this big, Mr. Wyatt. Does this mean you're really over her? Nothing to get over, I said, peeling a grape and holding it to her lips. Out with the old, in with the new. Cassie opened her mouth and took the grape, her tongue lightly brushing against my fingertips, sending a jolt through me. So, am I the old or the new? She whispered. This woman was going to be the death of me. Before I could answer, a commotion broke out near the entrance to our section. I looked over and saw Sophia marching toward us, furious. Trailing behind her were a dejected-looking Leo and her useless brother, Kyle. The music was too loud to hear what she was yelling, but I could read her lips, and they were forming some very creative curses. I signaled the DJ, and he cut the music. Suddenly, every eye in the club was on us. In the dead silence, Sophia's voice was painfully sharp. Jack, what the hell did you do? You had the locks changed on my condo. How am I supposed to get in? So that's what this was about. I'd sent my lawyer over with a court order this afternoon to secure the property. It was my asset, and I was protecting it. It's my condo. I can change the locks if I want to, I said, taking a sip of my drink. If you want to get your things, you can make an appointment. My lawyer will be there to supervise. As for living there, sorry, I'm not running a charity. You bastard. That was supposed to be our home, she screamed, her whole body trembling. I corrected her. Now it's just a piece of real estate. Jack, how could you do this to my sister? Kyle shouted, jumping forward and pointing at me. It's just a stupid condo. Who cares? My sister choosing you was the best thing that ever happened to you. Don't be an ungrateful prick. A stupid condo. I laughed. Fine, if you think it's so stupid, why don't you go buy her a mansion? I'm sure your best friend Leo here can afford it. He can cover the rent for you guys, right? I turned my gaze to Leo, who was hiding behind Sophia. Mr. Leo, here's your chance to be a hero. You can't cover the $700,000 debt, but surely you can afford rent, right? You're not going to let Sophia be homeless, are you? Leo shrank back, stammering, I haven't gotten paid yet. A wave of laughter erupted from my crew. Hasn't gotten paid yet? Ha ha, this is priceless. This guy can't even afford to take a girl on a date. He probably can't even afford a motel room. Sophia's face flushed red, then went pale. She turned to Leo, a look of doubt and disappointment crossing her face for the first time. Leo, she asked quietly, didn't you tell me that your family owned several properties? Leo's eyes darted around nervously. They're pre-construction. They haven't been built yet. I watched the whole pathetic drama unfold. Sophia had spent her life chasing status and luxury, only to be completely fooled by the most amateur lies. All right, that's enough. Stop embarrassing yourselves, I said, standing up and slamming my glass down on the table. Mitch, show our guests out. And from now on, these three and their entire family are on the blacklist. They are never allowed in this club again. You got it. Mitch and a few huge bouncers moved in. Jack, you'll regret this. I swear you'll regret this. Sophia screamed as they pushed her toward the exit. Without me, you're just a classless, new-money thug. You'll never find a woman as good as me. Wait, I called out. Sophia's eyes lit up, thinking I'd had a change of heart. She stopped struggling. What, Jack? You realize you were wrong? If you get on your knees and beg me. I ignored her. Instead, I turned, pulled Cassie into my arms, and, in front of everyone, gave her a deep, passionate kiss. Cassie was surprised for a second. Then she kissed me back with equal fire. It was a kiss that staked a claim, a declaration to the entire world. After a long moment, I broke the kiss and looked at the dumbfounded Sophia. See this, Sophia? This is a real woman. As for you, you're not even worthy of polishing her shoes. Now get out. This time, Sophia didn't scream. It was as if all the air had been sucked out of her. She looked utterly defeated, her face a mask of gray despair as the bouncers dragged her out like a sack of trash. 6. Time flies when you're winning. A month later, the court summons was delivered to Sophia. With a mountain of evidence, every bank transfer, every text message, every credit card statement, she didn't stand a chance. The down payment and all mortgage payments were traced directly from my accounts. She had nothing. The verdict was swift. The condo was legally mine. She had 30 days to vacate and was ordered to repay the credit card debt I had covered for her, plus the depreciated value of Kyle's BMW. The total came to just under $300,000. As for the rest of it, my lawyers were still working on it, clawing back every dollar they could. I heard that when the judge read the verdict, Sophia fainted right there in the courtroom. Her parents caused a scene outside, screaming that I was a monster trying to ruin their daughter's life. They were nearly arrested for contempt of court. During that month, I kept busy. My relationship with Cassie fell into place naturally. She wasn't needy and demanding like Sophia, nor was she a sycophant just after my money. We were equals. She understood my ambition, and I understood her fire. One night, I was staying at Cassie's villa on the bay. After a heated session, she was lying on my chest, tracing circles with her finger. So, I heard Sophia is looking for a job, she said casually, and she's moved into Leo's apartment. Oh, I lit a post-coital cigarette. Good for them. Love will keep them warm. Warm is one thing they're not, Cassie chuckled, a hint of schadenfreude in her voice. Leo's place is a room in a rundown, shared apartment. No private bathroom. Can you imagine Miss Sophia, who can't live without her Japanese smart toilet, dealing with that? And get this, she continued. I heard Leo has dropped the charming act. Now that his wallet's empty, he's hitting Sophia up for cash. But she's drowning in debt, so they just fight all the time. The neighbors have called the cops on them more than once. I listened without a flicker of emotion. What goes around comes around. By the way, there's a big charity gala next week. The one hosted by Mr. Wallace. We're both invited. I heard Leo's company is catering it. He's going to be working as a waiter. Cassie's eyes sparkled. Want to go watch the fireworks? Absolutely, I said, blowing out a cloud of smoke. We're not just going. We're going to make an entrance. 7. The Wallace Gala was being held in the grand ballroom of the same hotel where I had waited for Sophia. The irony was delicious. That night, I wore a custom-tailored Tom Ford suit that Cassie had picked out for me. With her on my arm, dazzling in a silver gown, we were the center of attention the moment we walked in. Jack, Cassandra, you two look like $1 billion. Mr. Wallace boomed, greeting us warmly. You're too kind, Bill, I said with a smile, my eyes scanning the room. Sure enough, by a service station near the back, I saw him. Leo was dressed in a waiter's uniform, carrying a tray of champagne flutes. He wasn't paying much attention to his job. His eyes were darting around, scanning the wealthy older women in the room. He was already hunting for his next meal ticket. What surprised me more was that Sophia was there, too. She was wearing an out-of-style dress that looked rumpled and cheap. She clutched a glass of champagne, hiding behind a marble column. Her eyes filled with a toxic mix of envy and bitterness as she watched the city's elite. She was so much thinner. Her cheekbones jutted out, and the arrogant spark she once had was gone, replaced by a deep-seated resentment and exhaustion. It looked like the real world had hit her hard. I took Cassie's arm and walked directly toward her. Well, if it isn't Miss Sophia, Cassie said, her voice loud enough to turn heads. What are you doing hiding back here? Aren't you going to go dance? Sophia's head snapped up. When she saw us, panic flashed in her eyes, and she instinctively tried to shrink away. Jack, long time no see, ex-fiancée, I said, looking down at her. I hear life's been treating you well. How's that charming little apartment you share with Leo? Still cozy? Sophia bit her lip, tears welling in her eyes. Jack, do you have to humiliate me like this? Humiliate you? I laughed. I'm just catching up with an old friend. By the way, have you scraped together that 300 grand yet? The court's deadline is fast approaching. At the mention of money, she flinched. Just then, Leo walked over with his tray of drinks. He saw me and looked like a mouse that had run into a cat. He tried to turn and flee. Stay, I commanded. Leo froze, then slowly turned back, forcing a smile that was more painful than a grimace. Mr. Wyatt. Leo, perfect timing. Pour Miss Sophia another drink, I said, gesturing to her empty glass. You're her best guy friend, after all. You have to provide good service. Leo's hand was shaking so badly that when he tried to pour the champagne, half of it sloshed over the rim and onto Sophia's dress. Ugh, what are you doing? This is dry clean only. Sophia shrieked, shoving him. What are you yelling about? It's just a stupid dress. Leo finally snapped, all his pent-up frustration boiling over. You walk around acting like you're still some princess. You're broke. You're drowning in debt. If I wasn't hoping you'd somehow pay me back, I would have kicked you to the curb months ago. What did you say? Now, that's not what you said before. Before? Before I thought you were rich. I didn't know you were just an empty shell. Even that damn Rolex was a fake. So it was a fake. I had it authenticated later. To save a few bucks, Sophia had bought him a high-end replica. This was better than I could have imagined. The surrounding guests started to gather, pointing and whispering. Isn't that Jack Wyatt's ex? The one who ditched her own engagement party for her guy friend. Wow, karma's a bitch. Look at the loser she ended up with. She got exactly what she deserved. Hearing the whispers, Sophia's face went chalk white. She was trembling from head to toe. Suddenly, her eyes locked on me. As if I were her last hope, she stumbled forward and dropped to her knees. Jack, I was wrong. I was so wrong, she cried, grabbing my leg, tears and snot streaming down her face. I don't love him. I was just confused. Please forgive me. You can have the condo. I'll give you everything. I'll do anything you say. Let's get married, please. We can go to the courthouse right now. The entire ballroom fell silent. I looked down at the pathetic woman clinging to my pants, a woman who was once the epitome of arrogance. I felt nothing. Not pity, just disgust. Let go, I said coldly. You're getting my pants dirty. They're expensive. Jack, please. Sophia, I told you before, a three-legged frog is hard to find, but two-legged women are everywhere. I shook her off and wrapped my arm around Cassie's waist, pulling her close. You see her, I announced to Sophia and to the room. This is my fiancée now. We're getting married. You should come to the wedding. Don't worry about a gift. I know you can afford one. With that, I turned and, with Cassie on my arm, walked away to the sound of applause and envious murmurs. Behind me, I could hear Sophia's desperate, hopeless sobs, punctuated by the sound of her and Leo screaming at each other. As we stepped out onto the terrace, I looked up at the sky. The moon was full, and it had never looked brighter.